My name is Diana Hartford. I'm 42 years old. I'm standing at Los Angeles International Airport, holding an economy ticket for seat 42E, the middle seat by the toilet. My brother just told the entire check-in line this is all I can afford. He has no idea there's a $40 million military jet on the tarmac, engines running, waiting for me. But I'm not going to tell him. Not yet. I'm going to let him finish his show. Silence is not weakness. Silence is observation. I learned that in Afghanistan. You let the enemy reveal their position completely before you strike. Marcus stands beside me in his charcoal Armani suit, waving the ticket like he's feeding pigeons in the park. His voice carries across the terminal with that practiced volume of a man who believes his words deserve a larger audience. The morning started differently, 2 days ago, to be precise, Thanksgiving Thursday. I pulled my rusted Ford F-150 into the driveway of my parents' house in the Virginia suburbs at 11:30 in the morning. The gravel crunched beneath tires that probably had another 5,000 miles before they became a safety hazard. I'd driven straight from a 24-hour shift at the Pentagon, monitoring a developing situation in the South China Sea. My eyes felt like someone had rubbed them with sandpaper. Every muscle in my body screamed for a bed, a pillow, anything horizontal. But I was there. I showed up. I always showed up. Marcus's brand new pearl white Tesla Model X sat diagonally across the driveway. Taking up space meant for 2 cars. The thing looked like it had been teleported from a showroom floor 30 seconds ago. Not a single leaf on the hood. Not a speck of dust on the chrome. It gleamed under the autumn sun with an almost offensive brightness. The kind of brightness that said, the owner checked the weather forecast before deciding whether to drive it. I sighed, shifted into reverse, parked halfway onto the damp grass. Before I could cut the engine, the front door swung open. Marcus stepped out holding a glass of Pinot Noir. Not wearing an apron, wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my truck's transmission. The wine caught the light, deep burgundy swirling as he gestured. His voice boomed across the lawn. "Jesus, Diana! Do you have to park that heap on the lawn? You're bringing down the property value of the whole neighborhood. I think I saw an oil leak trailing you from the highway." I muttered under my breath as I grabbed my duffel bag from the passenger seat. "Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Marcus." The bag was heavy, not just clothes, a secure satellite phone that I prayed wouldn't ring during dinner. Inside, the house smelled of roasted sage, butter, and the suffocating scent of expectation. The Detroit Lions game blared from the massive 85-inch flat-screen TV, another gift from Marcus naturally. Dad sat in his recliner, eyes glued to the screen, cheering as a touchdown was scored. I leaned in to kiss his cheek. "Hi, Dad." "Hi, Dad." He didn't look away from the game. "Hey, kid, you're late. Marcus has been here since noon. He helped your mom set up the smart home system." My jaw tightened. "I was working, Dad. Shift ran long." Dad finally glanced at my wrinkled flannel shirt and cargo pants, his expression somewhere between confusion and disappointment. "Working? Stamping forms at the DMV must be exhausting." I bit my tongue. The taste of copper was familiar. "If only you knew, Dad. If only you knew that the forms I stamped last night prevented a naval blockade from escalating into an international incident." We moved to the dining room. The table looked like something out of a Norman Rockwell painting. Golden turkey, mounds of stuffing, cranberry sauce glistening in crystal bowls, wine glasses catching the chandelier light. Mom bustled out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron. She smiled at Marcus, a beam of pure sunshine, before her gaze landed on me and dimmed to a flickering candle. Her voice carried that particular tone mothers reserve for daughters who disappoint. "Diana, honey, try not to slouch. It makes you look defeated." We sat down. This was the moment I dreaded most, the carving of the turkey. It was a ritual that established the hierarchy of the Hartford family every single year. Mom picked up the serving fork. She skillfully sliced a massive, juicy drumstick, the dark meat dripping with flavor and fat. She placed it reverently onto Marcus's plate. Her voice dripped with adoration. "For my genius. You need the protein, Marcus. Running a company in Silicon Valley takes so much brain power. You look thin. Is the stress getting to you?" Marcus chuckled, swirling his wine. "You know how it is, Mom. The IPO market is brutal right now. I've been pulling 18-hour days just to keep the investors happy. But hey, that's the price of being a disruptor. High risk, high reward." Then Mom turned to me. She sliced a piece of the breast meat. It was white, dry, looked like chalk. She dropped it onto my plate without gravy. The words came out casual, almost kind. And for you, Diana, white meat is better, less fat, since your job is mostly sedentary. You don't want to gain any more weight, especially at your age. No man wants a wife who lets herself go. I looked at the dry meat. I'd eaten MREs in the deserts of Kandahar that had more moisture than this. My voice came out flat. Thanks, Mom. I'm actually physically active. I run 5 miles every morning. Marcus interjected, mouthful of stuffing. Running away from responsibilities isn't the same as exercise. The table laughed. Even Dad chuckled. I cut into the turkey. It was sawdust. I swallowed it down with water because no one had offered me wine. From across the table, 16-year-old Sophie watched everything. Marcus's daughter, my niece. Her eyes moved from her grandmother serving the meat to her father's smug expression, to the dry piece of poultry on my plate. Something flickered in her expression. Not quite understanding, but recognition that something wasn't right. Sophie's voice cut through the laughter. Grandma, why does Aunt Diana get different food? The table went quiet. Mom's smile tightened. Different? Honey, it's all the same turkey. Aunt Diana just prefers the healthier cut. Sophie's brow furrowed, but she didn't push further. She looked at me. I gave her a small smile that said, "Leave it alone." She returned it, but her eyes stayed curious. Marcus clapped his hands together, calling a board meeting to order. So, big news, huge news. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box wrapped in gold foil. He slid it across the table to Mom and Dad. They opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a key fob, a Lexus key fob. Marcus beamed. Happy early anniversary. It's parked down the street. The 2025 hybrid SUV, heated seats, self-driving capability, the works. Mom burst into tears. Dad stood up and shook Marcus's hand, patting him on the back so hard I thought he'd dislocate his shoulder. Dad's voice cracked with emotion. My boy, my incredible boy, you do too much for us. Marcus waved a hand dismissively, checking his Apple Watch. It's nothing. You guys sacrificed for me. It's only right. He paused, snapped his fingers. Oh, wait, Diana, I almost forgot. I have something for you too. My stomach tightened. I didn't want his charity. He pulled a crumpled envelope out of his back pocket and tossed it across the table. It landed near my water glass. His voice was casual, almost helpful. I saw these in the break room at the office. One of the interns was throwing them out. It's a bundle of coupons for Costco and Walmart. Bulk rice, canned beans, stuff like that. I think some expired last week, but usually if you make a scene, the cashiers will still honor them. The silence in the room was deafening. Dad's voice came out soft, pitying. Take them, Diana. Marcus is just looking out for you. We know money is tight with your government salary. I stared at the coupons. 50 cents off canned tuna, 25 cents off paper towels, an expired discount on generic laundry detergent. My voice stayed steady, though my hand trembled beneath the table. I don't need these, Marcus. Marcus smirked. Don't be proud, Di. Pride is expensive. You can't afford it. He pivoted back to center attention. Speaking of affording things, for the actual 50th wedding anniversary next month, I've booked us. We're going to Hawaii. Mom gasped. Hawaii? Oh, Marcus. Marcus continued, voice rising with each word. All expenses paid. First class for you and Dad, 5-star resort in Maui. I'm renting a private cabana. He paused, looking at me with faux concern. Diana, you're coming too, obviously. I'll cover your flight. Don't worry. Another pause, deliberate. I know the resort is pricey, so I found a nice hostel a few miles inland for you. It's clean, there's a shuttle bus to the beach. I started to speak. My voice fought to be heard over their excitement. Actually, I have some news too. I received a promotion last week. My new assignment is significant. Dad waved his fork at me, cutting me off mid-sentence. Diana, please, not now. Let's not make this a competition. We're celebrating your brother's generosity. His voice took on that patronizing tone I'd heard my entire life. Your steady little pension is fine, honey, but don't try to dream big like your brother. It just leads to disappointment. I closed my mouth. I looked at the dry turkey on my plate. I looked at the expired coupons. My voice came out barely audible. Okay, Hawaii. Thank you, Marcus. Marcus winked at Mom. You're welcome. Someone has to carry the luggage, right? Sophie's fork clattered against her plate. She stared at her father with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not anger, not confusion. Something closer to disappointment. Her eyes moved to me, questioning. I gave her the smallest shake of my head. Not now. After dinner, I helped Mom clear the dishes while Marcus and Vanessa, his wife, set up the coffee in the living room. Sophie followed me into the kitchen. Her voice was quiet. Aunt Diana, can I ask you something? I rinsed a plate under hot water. Of course, sweetheart. She hesitated. What do you really do? Like for work? My hands stilled under the running water. I turned off the faucet, dried my hands on a dish towel. I looked at my niece, this sharp, observant girl who saw things others missed. My voice stayed careful. I work for the government, administrative work mostly. Why do you ask? Sophie leaned against the counter. Because you don't look like someone who sits at a desk all day. I raised an eyebrow. What do I look like? She studied me. I don't know. You're really strong. Like when you carried those bags from your truck, your arms didn't even shake. And you sit really straight, like military people do. Smart kid. Too smart. I chose my words carefully. I try to stay fit. Running helps clear my head. Sophie nodded slowly, but her eyes said she didn't quite believe me. Okay. She pushed off the counter, started to leave, then turned back. Aunt Diana, I think the coupons thing was mean. My throat tightened. It's okay, your dad means well. Sophie's voice came out firm, older than 16. No, he doesn't, but you're being nice about it, that's different. She left before I could respond. 2 hours later, I was back in my truck. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The leather creaked under the pressure. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just breathed in the cold air, letting the silence wash over the noise of their laughter, still echoing from the house. I stared at my hands. These hands had held rifles. They'd signed orders that changed the course of military operations. They'd dragged wounded soldiers to safety under enemy fire. Now they were shaking because of expired grocery coupons. I started the engine. The old Ford roared to life. I wasn't going to tell them. Not yet. If they wanted a porter for their trip to Hawaii, fine, I would go. But they had no idea who was really getting on that plane with them. The drive from the suburbs back to DC took 45 minutes, but it felt like traveling between two different planets. I left the suffocating air of my parents' house and drove straight into the sterile, cold precision of my real life. My apartment is located in the Navy Yard district, a high-rise building filled with government contractors and agency operatives. The rent here is more than my father thinks I make in 3 months at the DMV. I parked my rusted F-150 in the underground garage, specifically in a spot tucked away behind a concrete pillar, far from the polished BMWs and Audis of my neighbors. I took the elevator up to the penthouse floor. No keys here. I leaned forward, letting the retinal scanner read my eye. The lock clicked open with a heavy, satisfying thud of reinforced steel. Inside, the apartment was dark, silent, impeccably clean. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a safe house. No family photos on the mantle, no throw pillows, just sleek modern furniture and a secure hardline phone sitting on the coffee table, its red light blinking steadily to indicate the encryption was active. I threw my cheap Walmart jacket onto the couch and walked into the bedroom. I stripped off the flannel shirt and baggy cargo pants, leaving them in a pile on the floor. Standing in front of the full-length mirror, the illusion of Diana the clerk finally dissolved. My body wasn't soft or sedentary. It was hardened by 19 years of obstacle courses, desert hikes, hand-to-hand combat drills. Muscle definition traced my arms and shoulders. My core was solid. This wasn't the body of someone who stamped forms. But it was the scars that told the real story. I ran my fingers over the raised, jagged keloid scar on my left shoulder. It was ugly. A twisting knot of purple and white tissue that caught the bathroom light and threw shadows across my collarbone. My mind drifted back. Not to the dinner table I just left, but to the Korangal Valley in Afghanistan, 10 years ago. We were ambushed during a routine patrol. The air smelled of burning rubber and cordite. I remembered the sound. Not a bang, but a wet thwack as the sniper's round tore through my shoulder. The impact spun me sideways. My knees hit dirt. I didn't cry out. I dragged my radio operator to cover behind a rock wall while returning fire with my M4 carbine. Blood soaked through my tactical vest. I directed air support while the medic tried to stop the bleeding. I saved 3 lives that day. The Bronze Star citation said so. I remembered calling my mother from the field hospital in Germany a week later. I was high on morphine, desperate to hear a friendly voice. My voice had rasped through the phone. Mom, I got hurt, my shoulder. Mom had sighed, the sound of a game show blaring in the background. Oh, Diana, what did you do now? Did you fall off your bicycle again? You were always so clumsy as a child. Her voice had taken on that particular lecturing tone. Honestly, you need to be more careful. How are you ever going to wear a strapless dress at your wedding with a scar like that? It's going to look hideous. I had hung up the phone and stared at the white ceiling of the hospital ward. Fell off a bike. That was the lie I told them. That was the lie they chose to believe because it fit their narrative. Diana the klutz. Diana the failure. I walked over to the biometric safe built into the wall of my closet. I pressed my thumb against the pad. The door hissed open. Inside wasn't jewelry or cash. Hanging in a plastic protective bag was my dress blues uniform. On the shoulders, the silver eagles of a full colonel gleamed under the closet light. Pinned to the chest were rows of ribbons: the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, the Legion of Merit, the Defense Superior Service Medal. Below them lay my service pistol, a Sig Sauer P320, cleaned and oiled. This was who I really was: a ghost, a warrior, a commander of Special Operations Forces. But to my family, I was just a way to save money on luggage handling. I remember the day Marcus got into Stanford. The party was legendary. My parents rented a tent for the backyard, champagne, catered seafood, a banner that read "Future Billionaire" in letters 2 feet tall. Dad had gone around telling everyone, "My son is going to change the world. Stanford. Can you believe it? It costs a fortune, but he's worth every penny." 2 years later, when I received my acceptance letter to West Point, the United States Military Academy, there was no party, no banner. We were eating meatloaf for dinner. I put the letter on the table. My voice had been full of pride. "I got in, West Point. I'm going to serve my country." Dad had chewed his meatloaf slowly. He looked at the letter, then at me. His voice had been practical, almost relieved. "Well, that's practical. No tuition fees. The government pays for everything, right? Good. At least you won't be a financial burden on us like you would be at a regular college." He had wiped his mouth with a napkin. "Just try not to quit during the first week, Diana. It's tough. And you know you're soft." Soft. I opened the bottom drawer of my nightstand and pulled out a simple wooden box. This was my memory box. Inside were 19 years of letters. Handwritten letters. Letters I had written by the light of a headlamp in a dusty tent in Iraq. Letters I had written while shivering in a bunker in Syria. Letters where I tried to tell them in code that I loved them, that I was scared, that I missed home. I had mailed them all, spent money I didn't have on international postage, poured my heart onto pages. Over the years when I visited home, I would find them. Sometimes in the junk drawer in the kitchen, sometimes in the recycling bin. Unopened. They had never even broken the seals. I picked up one envelope from 2015, still sealed shut. My handwriting on the front, faded but readable. But right next to it in the box were the stubs of cashier's checks I had sent. Every single check had been cashed immediately. $50,000 for Marcus's first failed startup, $35,000 to help pay off their mortgage, $18,000 for new patio furniture, $25,000 for Marcus's wedding to Vanessa, $128,000 total, sent from combat zones, from deployment pay and hazard bonuses, from re-enlistment bonuses earned in places where the temperature hit 120 degrees and the risk of death was calculated daily. They cashed the money, they never read the words. I felt a lump form in my throat, hot and sharp. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was a cold, hard realization about the transactional nature of love in the Hartford family. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of bourbon. Woodford Reserve, neat. The amber liquid burned pleasantly as it went down, settling the turmoil in my stomach. I looked at my reflection in the darkened window of the penthouse. Beyond the glass, the lights of Washington, D.C. twinkled. Out there, thousands of people were sleeping peacefully because people like me stood watch in the dark. I commanded special operations teams. I held national secrets that could topple governments. I was respected. I was feared. I had the direct cell number of a 4-star general who called me by my first name. But in that house in the suburbs, I was just Diana, the girl who fell off her bike, the girl who needed coupons. I took another sip of bourbon. The silence of the apartment was heavy but honest. My phone buzzed. A text message. From Sophie. "Aunt Diana, I looked up West Point. Only the best students get in, and you graduated from there. Why do Grandma and Grandpa think you work at the post office?" I stared at the text. This kid. This sharp, wonderful kid. I typed back, because I never told them otherwise. Sometimes it's easier to let people believe what they want to believe. Her response came quickly. That's sad. I smiled despite myself. Maybe, but it's also a choice. Sophie, I don't think I could do that. If I accomplished something big, I'd want everyone to know. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. You're young. You still believe the people who love you want to celebrate your victories. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes your victories make them uncomfortable because it means they underestimated you. A long pause. Then, that's messed up. I laughed quietly, alone in my apartment. Yeah, it kind of is. Sophie, are you coming to Hawaii? Me. Looks like it. Sophie, good. I want to hang out with you. Away from my dad and everyone. Something warm spread through my chest. I'd like that, kiddo. The next 72 hours passed in a blur. I barely slept. The situation in the South China Sea escalated. A cyber attack on the Hawaiian power grid infrastructure was detected. Malware signatures matched a group known for sophisticated operations. They weren't just pinging firewalls anymore, they were inside the control systems. I spent those days in the SCIF, the sensitive compartmented information facility deep within the Pentagon. The air always tasted the same down there. Recycled oxygen, ozone from overheating server racks, bitter tang of stale coffee. My eyes felt like they were filled with sand. A dull throb had taken up permanent residence behind my temples. One of my analysts called out, Colonel Hartford, we have a situation developing. The malware signature matches the blackout group. They're not just probing anymore. They're inside the Hawaiian power grid control systems. I stared at the massive wall of monitors. Maps of the Hawaiian Islands were lit up in ominous shades of red and amber. My voice stayed calm. Status of the failsafes? The lieutenant replied, voice tight. Compromised. If they execute the code, the entire island of Oahu goes dark. Hospitals, air traffic control, military bases, everything. We're looking at a total infrastructure collapse within 48 hours. I took a sip of lukewarm black coffee. Isolate the infected nodes, get the NSA on the line. I want a trace on that signal, and I want it yesterday. The room was a hive of controlled chaos. Analysts shouting coordinates, keyboards clacking like machine gun fire. The fate of over 1 million American citizens hung in the balance. And then my pocket vibrated. It wasn't my secure satellite phone. It was my personal burner phone. The cheap flip phone I kept solely for family contact. In this room, bringing a personal device was a court-martial offense for anyone else. For me, it was a necessary evil, authorized by the director himself to maintain my cover. I ignored it. It vibrated again and again. A long, insistent buzzing against my hip that felt louder than the sirens on the monitors. I pulled the phone out under the table, shielding the screen. I expected a hospital notification. Maybe Dad had a heart attack. Maybe Mom fell. It was a text message from Vanessa. Hey Diana, quick reminder for packing. Make sure you bring your own sunscreen. I'm packing my La Mer and Supergoop. My skin is super sensitive, so I can't share. Just grab some Banana Boat or whatever generic brand you use from Walmart. Thanks. XOXO. I stared at the screen. My brain struggled to process the sheer absurdity of the words. I was currently orchestrating a counter-cyber warfare operation to prevent the people of Hawaii from being plunged into the Stone Age. I was authorizing the deployment of cyber countermeasures that cost more than Marcus's entire company valuation. And my sister-in-law was worried I would steal her $300 face cream. I didn't reply. I couldn't. If I typed what I was thinking, I might accidentally authorize a drone strike on her vanity table. My analyst called out, Ma'am, we have a physical signature. We've tracked the signal origin. It's not coming from overseas, it's local. The uplink is coming from a hardline connection at a resort in Waikiki. They're on the ground. They're in Oahu. My blood ran cold. If they're local, this isn't just hacking. This is sabotage. We need boots on the ground to secure the server room physically. My lieutenant suggested, we can have a Delta Force team spun up from Fort Bragg in 2 hours. I ordered, do it. Get the paperwork ready for my signature. The phone in my pocket rang this time. Not a text, a call. Marcus. I looked at the ops clock. The situation was critical, but if I didn't answer, Marcus would call Mom. Mom would panic and call the police to do a wellness check on my apartment, which would trigger a security standoff with the Secret Service detail that monitored my building. I needed 2 minutes. I stepped out into the hallway, the heavy steel door sealing the noise of the crisis behind me. I pressed the phone to my ear. This is Diana. Marcus's voice boomed, loud and arrogant. I could hear the clinking of silverware in the background. He was probably at a power lunch. Finally, I've been trying to reach you all morning. Did you put in for the PTO yet? My mind was still half in the operations room. The what? Marcus sighed dramatically. Paid time off, Diana, for the Hawaii trip. It's next week. I need to know if you cleared your schedule. I don't want you flaking out at the last minute because your manager needs you to sort mail, or whatever it is you do. Through the reinforced glass window of the skiff, I could see my lieutenant holding up a clipboard with the deployment authorization for a Tier 1 Special Operations Unit. He needed my signature to send lethal operators into American territory. My voice came out flat. Marcus, it's a busy time at work. We have a large project finishing up. Marcus laughed. It was a dry, condescending sound. A project? What is it? Tax season for the DMV? Listen, Di, just tell them you have a family emergency. Or just quit. Honestly, it's not like you're building rockets. He continued without waiting for my response. I'm paying for the whole trip. The least you can do is show up to help mom and dad with their bags. They're old. They can't be hauling suitcases around the airport. My hand tightened around the phone. I'm asking for the time off, Marcus. My boss is strict. Marcus scoffed. Strict? It's a government job, Diana. It's impossible to get fired. Just grow a spine and tell them you're leaving. God, do I have to negotiate for you? Do you want me to call your supervisor and explain that my time is worth $5,000 an hour and I'm wasting it on this conversation? My eyes went wide. The thought of Marcus calling General Victor Stone and trying to intimidate a decorated combat veteran with 3 stars on his shoulder was almost funny in a terrifying way. My voice came out quickly. No, don't do that. I'll handle it. Marcus's tone turned pleased. Good. And hey, Vanessa says you read her text about the sunscreen. She's serious, Diana. Don't be a mooch. We're staying at the Four Seasons, but remember, your hostel is a bit of a trek, so make sure you pack comfortable shoes. My jaw clenched. Got it. Cheap sunscreen, walking shoes, understood. Marcus's voice brightened. All right, gotta go. I have a meeting with venture capitalists. Try not to mess this up. See you at LAX on Tuesday, 8 a.m. Don't be late. The line went dead. I stood there for a moment in the sterile hallway, listening to the hum of the ventilation system. The contrast was so sharp it almost made me dizzy. In one world, I was a mooch, a failure, a porter for my aging parents. In the other world, I was the only thing standing between order and chaos. I walked back into the situation room. My lieutenant handed me the tablet. Deployment order ready, Colonel. Delta Team 6 is on standby, but we need a field commander to coordinate the physical breach with the cyber response, someone who knows the terrain and the tech. I looked at the map of Oahu on the big screen. The target location was a server farm disguised as a utility shed, less than 5 miles from the Four Seasons Resort, where my parents would be celebrating their anniversary. Fate, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor. I took the stylus and signed my name on the digital pad. Diana L. Hartford, Colonel, USA SOCOM. My voice came out steady. I'll go. I'll lead the field team. The lieutenant blinked. Ma'am, you want to command the operation? You've been awake for 3 days. I handed back the tablet. It's the perfect cover. I have a family trip booked for Hawaii next week anyway. I can move up my departure. I'll enter the island as a civilian tourist. No military transport manifest. No red flags for the hackers to spot. I'll coordinate the team from the ground while I'm there. Understanding dawned on his face. Understood, Colonel. I looked at the flight itinerary Marcus had emailed me earlier. Economy class. Middle seat. Seat 42E. My voice hardened. Get me on the secure line to General Stone. Tell him I'm taking the mission. And tell him I'm going to need to combine my leave with active duty status. I looked down at my burner phone one last time. Marcus's text was still visible on the screen. Don't be a mooch. I thought, don't worry, Marcus, I'll be there. I'll carry the bags. I'll buy the cheap sunscreen. But when the lights go out and the guns come out, you're going to wish you had paid a little more attention to the sister who stamps your forms. That night, I received another text from Sophie. Can I ask you something personal? Me. Sure, kiddo. Sophie. Did you ever want to tell them, like really tell them what you do? I sat on my couch in the dark apartment, the glow of the phone screen illuminating my face. Me, every single day for 19 years. Sophie. Why didn't you? Me. Because I stopped needing their approval. And once you stop needing it, telling them doesn't matter anymore. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just living your truth quietly. Sophie. But don't you want them to be proud? I thought about that for a long time before responding. I used to. But pride that only comes after seeing proof isn't real pride. It's just surprise. Real pride is believing in someone before they've proven anything. Sophie, that's deep. Me, that's experience. Experience. Sophie, I'm proud of you, Aunt Diana. I don't even know exactly what you do, but I know you're amazing. My throat tightened. A 16-year-old girl I'd only seen at holidays had just given me something my parents never had. Me, thank you, Sophie. That means more than you know. Sophie, will you tell me someday the real story? Me, maybe, when you're ready to hear it. Sophie, I think I'm ready now. Me, we'll see. Hawaii is coming up. Maybe the truth will reveal itself. Sophie, cryptic, I like it. The next 72 hours were a blur of mission planning, equipment requisitions, intelligence briefings. I slept 4 hours total. I lived on coffee and protein bars. And then Tuesday morning arrived. I stood in front of my closet, looking at two versions of myself. On the left, my dress blues uniform, perfectly pressed, ribbons gleaming, eagles on the shoulders catching the light. On the right, my Walmart jacket, frayed at the cuffs, a small stain on the collar that never quite came out, pockets containing lint and old receipts. I chose the jacket. Silence is not absence. Silence is choice. I was choosing to let them continue their illusion just a little longer, long enough to reveal who they truly were, long enough to make the lesson unforgettable. I packed my battered duffel bag. Inside, beneath civilian clothes, was a secure satellite phone, encrypted tablets, and the black ID card General Stone had given me. The card was the key, the trigger, the moment of truth. But not yet. I drove my Ford F-150 to my parents' house at 7:15 a.m. The black Cadillac Escalade was already in the driveway, engine running, exhaust billowing in the cold morning air. Marcus stood by the open trunk, checking his phone. Vanessa was applying lipstick in the side mirror. Mom and Dad were loading small bags into the second row. And there was Sophie, standing off to the side, watching me pull up with an expression that said she knew something was coming. Marcus looked up. Diana, finally. Come on, we're running late. Start loading these bags. 4 massive Louis Vuitton steamer trunks sat on the driveway, the kind with hard shells and monogram patterns that screamed wealth. Vanessa called out from the mirror. Careful with that one, Diana. The leather scuffs easily. Lift with your knees, not your back. I walked over, grabbed the first trunk. 50 pounds. My biceps strained, not because it was too heavy, but because I was tired. 3 days of no sleep catching up. Sophie appeared beside me. I'll help. Her small hands gripped the other side of the trunk. Marcus frowned. Sophie, honey, you don't need to help. Diana's got it. She's used to manual labor. Sophie ignored him. We lifted together, loaded the trunk into the back of the Escalade. She whispered to me, "This is messed up." I whispered back, "I know, but watch. Just watch what happens." We loaded 3 more trunks. By the time we finished, sweat prickled at my hairline despite the cold morning air. Marcus clapped his hands. All right, everyone in. We've got a flight to catch. The seating arrangement was predictable. Marcus and Vanessa took the middle captain's chairs. Mom and Dad took the rear bench. Marcus's 2 younger kids, Leo and Sophie, were supposed to take the 3rd row. But Sophie climbed over the seats and wedged herself into the cargo area with me. Marcus called back. Sophie, what are you doing? There's a seat up here. Sophie's voice came out firm. I'm sitting with Aunt Diana. Vanessa turned around. Honey, it's cramped back there. Come sit with us. Sophie shook her head. I'm good. Marcus shrugged. Suit yourself. The driver merged onto the I-405. Traffic was predictably terrible. Brake lights stretched as far as the eye could see. Vanessa reclined her seat so far back it nearly crushed Dad's knees. Ugh, traffic. Marcus, did you download the new season of Bluey for Leo? From the row in front of me, Leo and Sophie's younger brother started blasting his iPad at maximum volume. Cartoon explosions. High-pitched voices. Then the candy throwing began. Leo turned around, tossed a Skittle. It hit me in the forehead. Sophie glared at her brother. Leo, stop! He giggled, threw another one. Marcus's voice was indulgent. Kids, settle down! But he didn't look up from his phone. He didn't actually stop them. My stomach growled loud enough to be heard over the engine. Marcus reached into the brown paper bag at his feet. The rich, nutty aroma of Starbucks coffee suddenly filled the car. My mouth watered. Marcus passed cups back one by one. Dad, here's your cappuccino, extra foam. Mom, chai tea latte. Vanessa, venti soy latte. No foam. 2 pumps of vanilla. Kids, hot chocolates. Steam rose from each white lid. The smell was intoxicating. Marcus took a sip of his own nitro cold brew and set the bag down. Empty. He glanced in the rearview mirror, met my eyes for a split second. Oops, I totally forgot to ask what you wanted, Diana. He didn't look sorry. He looked bored. My voice came out raspy. It's fine. Marcus shrugged. Well, I honestly assumed you ate breakfast at home. And besides, those fancy drinks are full of sugar. You're better off without them. He gestured vaguely. I think there's a bottle of water in the side door pocket if you're thirsty. It might be warm, though. I looked at the door pocket. A half-empty plastic bottle, label peeling off. It looked like trash left by a previous passenger. My voice stayed flat. Thanks, Marcus. Hydration is key. Marcus turned back to Vanessa. See? She prefers water. It's a budget thing. When you don't have money, you learn to appreciate the free stuff. Sophie hadn't taken a sip of her hot chocolate. She held the cup, staring at it. Then she did something that made my chest tighten. She held the cup out to me. Aunt Diana, you want this? I'm not really thirsty. My voice caught. Sophie, no, it's yours. Your dad bought it for you. Sophie's voice came out quiet but firm. I don't want it if you don't have anything. Marcus called back. Sophie, don't be dramatic. Drink your cocoa. Sophie set the cup down in the cup holder without drinking it. She reached over and squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. We pulled up to Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX 45 minutes later. The chaos was immediate. Whistles blowing, shuttles honking, people shouting, curbside check-in, priority lanes, economy lines snaking back toward the parking structures. I scrambled out of the back, legs numb from the cramped position. I nearly stumbled as blood rushed back to my feet. Marcus clapped his hands. All right, let's move, people. Curbside check-in is for amateurs. We're going inside to the priority line. I began unloading these bags again. Lift, swing, drop. My lower back throbbed. A reminder of a bad parachute landing 2 years ago. Marcus, Vanessa, and Leo started walking toward the sliding glass doors. Dad followed. Mom lingered. She walked up to me as I struggled to push the heavy cart. The wheels wobbled. Her voice came out as a whisper. Diana, honey. I looked up, wiping sweat from my forehead. For a second, I thought she was going to thank me. Maybe offer to carry something. Instead, she leaned in close. When we get inside, try to walk a few paces behind us, okay? I froze. What? Mom reached out, picked a piece of lint off my shoulder. Her nose wrinkled in distaste. It's just, look at you. That jacket is fraying at the cuffs and your hair's a mess. She glanced toward where Marcus was disappearing through the doors. There are going to be a lot of important people in the first-class line. Business associates of Marcus's might be there. We don't want them to get the wrong idea. My voice came out hollow. The wrong idea about what? Mom gave me a pitying smile. That the family is struggling. You understand, don't you? It's for Marcus's image. Just keep a little distance, like you're helping us, but not with us. She patted my cheek, a soft, stinging tap, and turned to hurry after the others. Come on, don't dawdle. Sophie had heard everything. Her face flushed red. Grandma, what did you just say? Mom glanced back. Sophie, mind your own business. This is between me and your aunt. Sophie's voice rose. You told her to walk behind you like she's not part of the family? Mom's tone turned sharp. Sophie, enough. But Sophie wasn't done. She looked at me, eyes blazing. Aunt Diana, you don't have to do this. I placed my hand on her shoulder. It's okay, kiddo. They're allowed to ask. And I'm allowed to choose how I respond. Sophie's jaw set. This is wrong. I smiled despite the pain twisting in my chest. I know, but sometimes you have to let people show you who they are. Really show you so there's no doubt later. I pushed the cart forward. Sophie walked beside me, not ahead, not behind, beside. Together, we walked through those automatic doors into the terminal. And with each step, I felt the weight of 19 years of silence pressing down on my shoulders. But I also felt something else. Something harder, sharper. The certainty that I was done carrying their shame. The automatic doors of Tom Bradley International Terminal hissed open and swallowed us into controlled chaos. 10,000 conversations happening at once, the rhythmic clatter of wheelie bags over tile, announcements about unattended luggage crackling through overhead speakers. The air smelled of jet fuel, coffee, and stress. Marcus adjusted his blazer, checking his reflection in the glass wall. He was performing now. Every movement deliberate, every word calculated for maximum impact. His voice cut through the noise. "All right, troops, stay close. We're going priority. I don't do lines." He strode toward the United Airlines counter like a man who expected the world to part for him. And it did. People stepped aside, not out of respect, out of exhaustion. It was easier to let entitled people through than fight them. I pushed the luggage cart behind, 10 feet back. The wobbling left wheel squeaked with each rotation. People glared as I maneuvered through the crowd. I muttered apologies that nobody heard. Sophie walked beside me, not ahead with her family. Vanessa glanced back, noticed. "Sophie, honey, come up here with us." Sophie's voice stayed firm. "I'm helping Aunt Diana." Marcus waved dismissively. "Let her play porter if she wants. We need to check in." He marched straight to the red carpet marked Premier Access 1K Global Services. There was a velvet rope. He unhooked it himself, didn't wait for the attendant. Walked up to the counter like he owned the airline. His voice boomed across the terminal. "Marcus Hartford, party of 7. I'm a Premier Platinum member. 4 overweight bags, but you're going to waive the fees because, well, look at the status." The agent was a woman in her 50s with tired eyes and a name tag reading Brenda. She'd probably heard the speech 50 times today. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with the resigned efficiency of someone who'd stopped caring about customer arrogance years ago. Her voice came out professionally flat. "Good morning, Mr. Hartford. I see your reservation. Flying to Honolulu today." Marcus corrected her sharply. "Maui, connection in Honolulu, but make sure our bags are tagged all the way through. Priority tags. I don't want to wait at the carousel with the general population." I finally caught up, breathless, my face flushed from exertion. I pushed the cart to the scale. Marcus didn't offer to help lift the bags. He tapped his foot impatiently. "Faster, Diana, you're holding up the line." I heaved the 50-pound trunks onto the belt one by one. My shoulder, the one with the keloid scar, throbbed with each lift. Hot pain radiated down my arm. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep my face neutral. Brenda's printer whirred to life. She placed a stack of glossy boarding passes on the counter. Marcus picked them up, fanned them out like a winning poker hand. He turned to the family, playing benevolent king. "All right, Mom, Dad." He handed them 2 tickets. "Row 2, seats A and B, first class, fully lie-flat seats. I ordered the vegan meal for you, Mom. Steak for you, Dad. Champagne served before takeoff." Mom clutched the ticket to her chest. "Oh, Marcus, you spoil us. Look, honey, it says Zone 1. Marcus continued. "Vanessa kids, row 3. Sophie, you get the window to see clouds. Leo aisle so you can move around." Leo cheered. "Yeah, first class." He stuck his tongue out at a kid standing in the economy line behind us. The kid's mother frowned, pulled her son closer. One ticket remained. It wasn't printed on glossy cardstock. It was thermal receipt paper, already curling at the edges. Marcus held it up. He didn't hand it to me immediately. He waved it in the air like a flag of surrender. The terminal was crowded. Businessmen in suits watched. Families on vacation turned to look. Marcus loved an audience. He always had. His voice boomed with performative joviality. "And for you, Diana." He stepped closer, invading my space. His cologne mixed with recycled airport air made my stomach turn. I tried my best, but holiday pricing is insane, so here you go. He thrust the flimsy paper toward my face. "Seat 42E. That's the middle seat in the back row, right next to the lavatory. You know where the magic happens." Vanessa let out a sharp, high-pitched giggle. She covered her mouth with manicured fingers, but her eyes sparkled with amusement. Marcus chuckled, shaking his head. "Hey, I'm doing you a favor. You're used to suffering, right? I mean, look at you." He gestured vaguely at my outfit, the frayed jacket, worn sneakers. "First class isn't for people living paycheck to paycheck, Diana. You'd feel out of place. You wouldn't know which fork to use." The world slowed down. I could hear the click of the luggage belt moving bags away, the ding of an announcement chime. I felt eyes on us, strangers watching. Some looked pitying, some embarrassed. Mom turned away, pretending to study a duty-free advertisement. Dad adjusted his hat, looked at his shoes. They were ashamed. Not of Marcus's cruelty, of me, of my poverty, of the fact that I was the family punchline. Marcus wagged the ticket. "Come on, take it. Boarding starts in 20 minutes. You're zone 5, so you'll wait until everyone else is seated. But hey, at least you're on the plane." I looked at the ticket. Seat 42E, economy, middle seat, next to the toilet. Then I looked at Marcus. Really looked at him. For the first time in years, I saw him clearly. The insecurity behind his arrogant smile. The desperate need to feel superior because deep down he knew he was small. And something inside me clicked into place. Not a snap, a quiet metallic sound, a safety disengaging. The anger that had boiled for 19 years suddenly cooled into something solid, something dangerous. But I didn't reach for the ticket. My voice came out low, cutting through terminal noise like a blade. I don't want your ticket, Marcus. His smile faltered. Excuse me, Mimi? My voice stayed quiet. I don't need it. Marcus laughed nervously. Don't be ungrateful. That's a $600 seat. People in line behind us had stopped talking. They were watching now, sensing something about to happen. I reached into the inner pocket of my cheap jacket. My fingers brushed against cold, hard plastic. The ID card General Stone had given me. It felt heavy, like a loaded weapon. Marcus's brow furrowed. What are you doing? Stop making a scene. People are watching. My voice stayed soft. Yes, they are. And you wanted a show, didn't you? I pulled out the card. It was black with a holographic red stripe that caught the overhead fluorescent lights. It didn't look like a credit card. Didn't look like a driver's license. It looked like authority. I turned to Brenda. She'd been watching the family drama with wide eyes, probably debating whether to call security. My voice changed. The hesitation was gone. This was the voice that commanded battalions. Ma'am, I'm authorizing a Priority 1 override. I placed the card on the scanner. Marcus laughed, but the sound was strained. Diana, what is that? A library card? You're embarrassing yourself. Then the machine beeped. Not the normal cheerful beep of a boarding pass scan. A harsh, urgent double-tone siren that echoed from the computer terminal. The screen behind Brenda's counter flashed. It didn't show seat numbers or gate information. It turned solid, flashing crimson. Brenda gasped and recoiled from the monitor like it had burst into flames. Her face bathed in red glow. Her lips moved silently as she read text scrolling across the screen. Critical alert. Code red identity confirmed. Colonel Diana L. Hartford. U.S. Army SOCOM. Tier 1. Asset commander, do not detain. Secure perimeter. Brenda's hand trembled as she reached for the phone on her desk. Oh my God. Oh my God. Marcus stumbled back a step. His face went from arrogant amusement to pale shock. Diana, what the hell did you do? Is that a stolen credit card? Did you hack the system? My voice stayed calm. I didn't do anything, Marcus. I just checked in. Marcus raised his hands in surrender, looking around at the staring crowd. I don't know what she did. She's mentally unstable. I'm not with her. This is fraud. Mom grabbed Dad's arm, knuckles white. Diana, please, just apologize. Tell them it's a mistake before they arrest you. But nobody was listening to them anymore, because the ground started to shake. From the far end of the terminal, near the TSA security doors, a commotion erupted. It sounded like thunder rolling indoor, people screaming, scrambling out of the way. A voice roared through the chaos, "Make a hole! Move, move, move!" 6 military police officers flanked by 4 tactical operators in full combat gear, plate carriers, helmets, M4 carbines slung across chests, burst through the crowd. They moved with terrifying synchronized precision, not walking, sprinting in formation. Someone in the crowd screamed, "Get down! It's a raid!" Marcus yelped and cowered behind his luggage cart, using Louis Vuitton trunks as a barricade. It's her! She's the one with the fake card! Arrest her! I have nothing to do with this! The soldiers ignored him completely, didn't even glance his direction. They charged straight toward the check-in counter. The crowd parted. People held up phones, recording, faces lit by screens. The lead operator, a massive man with a tactical headset, reached the counter first. He didn't tackle me, didn't shout at me to get on the ground. He stopped 3 feet away and spun around, facing outward toward the crowd. The other soldiers did the same. Within 2 seconds, they formed a perfect, impenetrable defensive perimeter around me, backs to me, weapons at low ready, eyes scanning the terminal for threats. I stood in the center of the circle, the eye of the storm. Sophie stood frozen beside me, eyes wide, not with fear, with awe. Heavy footsteps approached. Thump, thump, thump. A man walked through the gap in the formation. He wore the formal dress green uniform of the U.S. Army. Oak leaves of a major shone on his shoulders. He walked with purpose that made Marcus's corporate swagger look like a toddler's stumble. He stopped directly in front of me, looked at my frayed jacket, looked at my worn sneakers, looked at my messy hair, and he didn't blink. He snapped his heels together, The sound cracked like a pistol shot. He raised his hand in a crisp, unwavering salute. His voice carried across the silent terminal. "Colonel Hartford!" Slowly I stood taller. I rolled my shoulders back. The phantom weight of my rucksack settled into place. I wasn't Diana the clerk anymore. I was the commander. I returned the salute, hand cutting air with precision. "Major." The major dropped his hand but remained at attention. "Ma'am, General Stone sent the extraction team. We have secured the terminal. The C-37B is fueled and engines running on the tarmac. We are ready for immediate departure to Hickam Air Force Base." My voice came out steady. "Excellent timing, Major. Let's not keep the general waiting." From the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Marcus standing up slowly from behind luggage. His mouth hung open so wide it looked like his jaw had unhinged. His eyes darted from soldiers to the major to me. His brain was trying to process impossible data, and failing. He whispered, "Colonel what? Who?" Dad stepped forward, face gray. "Diana, what's going on? Why are they saluting you?" One of the MPs shouted, stepping in front of Dad with a raised hand. "Stay back, sir. Maintain 10-foot distance from the VIP." Mom squeaked, "VIP? But she works at the post office." The major turned his head slightly, giving my parents a look of withering disdain that could peel paint. "The colonel is one of the highest-ranking officers in United States Army Special Operations Command. You will show her proper respect." Marcus looked at his hand. He was still holding the thermal paper ticket for seat 42E. His fingers went limp. The ticket fluttered down, drifted through air like a dead leaf. It landed softly on the dirty airport floor. Around us, the crowd had gone from terrified to mesmerized. Hundreds of smartphones held aloft, flashbulbs popping, whispers rippling through onlookers like waves. Someone near me murmured, "Is that a spy?" Another voice, "Dude, that's insane! Look at the soldiers!" A woman whispered, "Who is she?" Sophie's hand found mine. She squeezed. Her palm was sweaty, but her grip was strong. I looked down at her. Tears streamed down her face. Not tears of sadness, tears of pride. The major noticed Sophie. He glanced at me. "Who is this, Colonel?" My voice softened. "My niece." The major turned to Sophie, snapped to attention, and saluted her. "You're very fortunate to have an aunt like this. Colonel Hartford has saved 47 lives in her career. She is a hero to us." Sophie's voice came out choked. "I know, I've always known." Marcus found his voice at last. It came out desperate, confused. "Diana, I don't understand the DMV, the forms, the—" I turned to face him fully. My voice wasn't angry, just tired. "I never worked at the DMV, Marcus. I've been in the Army for 19 years. Special operations. I command Tier 1 assets. I've been deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. I've spent more nights in combat zones than I have in my own bed." Mom's voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell us?" I looked at my mother. Really looked at her. "I tried to tell you for 19 years, but you never listened. You only wanted to hear what you'd already decided about me." George stepped forward. "But we sent you money." My voice cut him off. "The checks I sent you? You cashed them all, $128,000, but the letters I sent? Not one was opened. That's the difference between loving someone's money and loving them." Sophie spoke up, her young voice cutting through the tension. "Dad, I'm ashamed of you." Marcus turned to his daughter, shock registering on his face. "Sophie." Her voice shook but stayed firm. "You taught me to respect people, but you didn't respect the person who deserved it most." Marcus looked at his daughter. The realization hit him then. The lesson wasn't coming from me. It was coming from his own child. I glanced at Sophie, placed my hand on her shoulder. "Thank you for seeing me, but you need to stay with your family." Sophie's voice broke. "I don't want to. I want to go with you." I knelt down to her level, ignoring the soldiers, the crowd, everything. "Listen to me. This isn't about leaving them or staying with me. This is about you learning something important." I held her gaze. "Strength isn't walking away from people who hurt you. Strength is knowing your worth even when they don't see it. You're going to stay with your mom and dad. And every time they start to forget today, you're going to remind them." Sophie wiped tears. "How are you?" My voice was gentle. "If your dad ever treats someone poorly again, ask him, 'Dad, do you remember Aunt Diana?' That's all. That question will be enough." Sophie threw her arms around my neck. I hugged her back, feeling her small body shake with emotion. She whispered in my ear, "I love you, Aunt Diana." I whispered back, I love you too. That's why I did this. Not for me, for you. So you'd know that women don't have to be small to be loved. I stood, looked at the major. We need to move. I have a mission to complete. The major nodded. This way, Colonel. One of the tactical operators, a man who looked like he could bench press a truck, stepped forward and gently picked up my battered duffel bag like it contained nuclear codes. I started walking. The soldiers moved with me, a wall of steel and Kevlar. Marcus shouted, his voice cracking. Diana, wait! The flight, the bags, please. I didn't stop, didn't turn around. His voice rose to a desperate plea. We're family, you can't leave us here like this. I paused, just for a moment, spoke without looking back. You're right, Marcus. We are family. Blood is thicker than water, but you forgot the full quote. I let the silence hang for a beat. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I chose my soldiers. You chose your pride. I walked through the corridor of soldiers, left the noise, the judgment, the economy ticket on the floor behind me. For the first time in 19 years, I wasn't following them. I was leading, and they couldn't follow where I was going. The secure side door led to a sterile hallway. White walls, fluorescent lights, no windows. The soldiers maintained formation around me as we walked. Our footsteps echoed in perfect rhythm. The major walked beside me. Colonel, the jet is on standby. We have the mission brief ready. The situation in Oahu has escalated. The hackers attempted to execute their code 40 minutes ago. We blocked it, but they'll try again. My mind shifted gears. From family drama to military operations in a heartbeat. Casualties? The major shook his head. None, but we need you on the ground. The server farm is embedded in a civilian area. We can't just breach it. We need surgical precision. We reached an elevator. The major swiped his card. The doors opened. We descended. When they opened again, we were in a restricted area, tarmac access. Through the glass, I could see it. The C-37B Gulfstream, sleek, white, beautiful. Engines already running, heat shimmering off the exhaust. The major opened the final door. Hot tarmac air hit my face. Jet fuel and exhaust, the smell of freedom. I climbed the stairs. At the top, I turned back. Through the glass of the terminal, I could see my family. Tiny figures in the distance, still standing at the check-in counter, probably in shock. Sophie stood apart from them. She was watching me. Even from this distance, I could see her small hand raised in a wave. I waved back. Then I stepped inside the jet. The door sealed shut with a satisfying thud. The chaos of the airport vanished, replaced by quiet luxury. The cabin was beautiful, cream-colored leather chairs that swiveled and reclined, mahogany wood paneling, no crying babies, no crying brothers, just space. A flight steward, a young staff sergeant, stepped forward. Welcome aboard, Colonel. We have a flight time of 5 hours and 20 minutes to Hickam Air Force Base. Can I get you anything before we taxi? I sank into the leather chair by the window. It embraced my tired body like coming home. Bourbon, neat, Blanton's if you have it. The sergeant smiled. We have it, ma'am. Minutes later, he returned with a crystal tumbler. Amber liquid swirled around a single perfect ice sphere. His voice was professional. Wheels up in 2, Colonel. As the jet roared down the runway and lifted into the sky, banking over the Pacific Ocean, I finally exhaled. 19 years of holding my breath, 19 years of silence. Released. I took a sip of bourbon. It was smooth, notes of caramel and oak. It burned pleasantly, settling the storm in my chest. I pulled out my personal phone. I turned it off during the confrontation. Now, at 40,000 feet, connected to the jet's secure Wi-Fi, I pressed the power button. The device nearly vibrated out of my hand. Notifications didn't just appear. They cascaded down the screen like a waterfall. Text messages, emails, social media alerts, all exploding simultaneously. I opened Twitter first. I didn't have to search. Right there on the trending page. Airport, Karen meets Colonel, had Hartford exposed. Respect our troops. A video, clearly shot by a bystander, already had 4 million views. It showed everything. Marcus waving the ticket, his smug face, my calm refusal, the red sirens, the soldiers forming that wall around me. The comments were brutal. Did you see his face when the MPs showed up? Priceless. Imagine trying to flex a platinum card on a special ops commander. What a clown. That salute, though. Chills. Respect to Colonel Hartford. Cancel this guy. Who treats their sister like that? I switched apps. Marcus's company, Hartford Tech, was publicly traded. The stock graph was bleeding red, down 12% in the last hour. News headlines were already running. Hartford Tech CEO under fire after viral video shows abuse of military officer. Board of directors calls emergency meeting. In America, the market forgives bad products, but it rarely forgives PR disasters involving military personnel. Then I opened my text messages. 20 unread from Mom. Diana, honey, are you there? Please answer. We had no idea. A colonel. Why didn't you tell us? Your father is in shock. We're so proud of you. We always knew you were special. Listen, the airport is crazy. People are shouting at Marcus. It's scary. Can you turn the plane around or send a car for us? We can still make the vacation work. We love you. Please pick up. Heart emojis, crying emojis. For 19 years, I'd waited for those words. We're so proud of you. I'd bled for them, missed birthdays, weddings, holidays, served in the darkest corners of the earth, and now here they were. But they felt cheap, transactional. They weren't proud of me. They were proud of the rank, afraid of the consequences of losing access to me. I scrolled down. Marcus's texts were worse. Diana, pick up the phone. This isn't funny anymore. My investors are pulling out. Do you have any idea how much money I lost in 30 minutes? You need to release a statement. Tell them it was a prank. We were filming a skit or something. I'll pay you. Name your price. Diana, you're killing me. I'm your brother. You owe me. You owe me. I took another sip of bourbon. Let it sit on my tongue. I looked out the window at the endless blue of the Pacific. The sky was empty, clean. I remembered being 10 years old, scraping my knee on the playground, running to Marcus, crying, wanting my big brother to help. He'd laughed, told me to stop being a baby. I remembered showing Mom a drawing I made, her asking why I couldn't draw as well as Marcus. I realized then that I wasn't angry. Anger requires passion. Anger implies you still care about the outcome. I felt nothing, just quiet, hollow relief. The kind you feel when you finally put down a backpack you've carried for miles. I didn't owe him anything. I didn't owe them my silence, my labor, my protection. Not anymore. I held down the power button on my phone. Slide to power off. I slid my thumb across the screen. The digital chaos, the pleas, the fake love, the panic, faded to black. The cabin was silent again, just the gentle hum of engines, the quiet clinking of ice in my glass. I was alone at 40,000 feet. For the first time in my life, I didn't have a family to go back to. I was an orphan of my own making. But as I looked at the clouds stretching toward Hawaii, toward the mission ahead, I realized something else. I was free. A text notification appeared on my secure phone. Not my personal device, my military-issued encrypted phone. From General Stone. Saw the video, well done. That took guts. Now focus. The island needs you. We'll debrief the family drama later. Stone out. I smiled despite myself. Typed back. Roger that, sir. Wheels down in 4 hours. Hours. Another text came through. This one from Sophie. She must have gotten my secure number from my contact card before I left. Aunt Diana, Dad is crying. Like really crying. Mom too. I've never seen them like this. I stared at the message. Part of me felt satisfaction. Part of me felt something more complex. Not quite regret. More like mourning. Mourning the family I'd wanted them to be but never were. I typed. That's good, Sophie. Tears mean they're feeling something real. That's the beginning of change. Sophie, are you mad at me for staying with them? Me. Never. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You're the bridge between who they were and who they need to become. That's a harder job than walking away. Sophie, I don't know if I'm strong enough. Me. You are. You proved it today. You chose to sit with me in the back of that car when you didn't have to. You refused your hot chocolate when I didn't have anything. That's character, Sophie. That's who you are when nobody's watching. A long pause. Then, will you teach me how to be strong like you? My throat tightened. I looked out at the clouds, blinking back unexpected tears. You don't need me to teach you. You already know how. You just need permission to do it. So here it is. Permission granted. Be strong. Be loud. Don't let anyone make you small. Sophie, even if it makes people uncomfortable? Me, especially if it makes people uncomfortable. The right kind of discomfort leads to growth. Another pause. I want to go to West Point, like you. I set down my bourbon glass. This was bigger than family drama. This was a 16-year-old girl choosing her path. West Point will break you down and build you back up. It will be the hardest thing you ever do. Are you sure? Sophie, I'm sure. I want to serve. I want to matter. Me, you already matter, kiddo. But if that's what you want, I'll help you. We'll start training when I get back. Physical fitness, academics, leadership. It's a 4-year commitment just to prepare for the application. Sophie, I'm ready. Me, okay then. Welcome to the hardest journey of your life. I'm proud of you. Sophie, thank you, Aunt Diana, for everything, for showing me what real strength looks like. I locked the phone, looked out the window again. The Pacific stretched forever. Somewhere down there, islands waited. A mission waited. People who needed saving. But also, back in Los Angeles, a 16-year-old girl was beginning a transformation. She'd witnessed something today. Not just my confrontation with Marcus, but the power of patient silence, the strength of strategic timing, the importance of knowing your worth. She'd learned that women don't have to scream to be heard. They just need to know when to speak. The flight steward returned. Colonel, we're approaching cruising altitude. Can I get you anything else? I shook my head. I'm good, thank you. He nodded and retreated to the galley. I reclined the leather seat. It went completely flat. I hadn't slept in 72 hours. My body was running on caffeine and adrenaline. The mission brief could wait another hour. I closed my eyes. For the first time in 19 years, I slept without the weight of their judgment pressing on my chest. When I woke, we were beginning our descent. The flight steward had placed a folder on the table beside me. Classified markings, mission details. I opened it, read quickly. The situation was worse than I'd thought. The hackers weren't just threatening the power grid. They'd embedded code in the hospital systems, too. If they succeeded, people on life support would die. Traffic systems would fail. It would be chaos. My phone buzzed. Another text from Sophie. The video has 20 million views now. Dad's company stock is crashing. Grandma and Grandpa are getting harassed by reporters. It's really bad. I stared at the message. This was a consequence I hadn't fully considered. Yes, Marcus deserved public accountability. But the fallout was affecting everyone. I typed, "Are you safe? Is anyone threatening you?" Sophie, "No, everyone at school thinks it's amazing. They're calling you a hero. Some are calling Dad a Karen. It's weird." Me, "The internet is ruthless. It will blow over eventually. Your dad will survive this, but he'll be different after." Sophie, "Is that good?" Me, "That depends on what he does next. Pain either makes you bitter or better. He gets to choose." The jet touched down at Hickam Air Force Base with barely a bump. Perfect landing. We taxied to a secure hangar away from the main terminal. When the door opened, General Stone was standing on the tarmac, 3 stars gleaming on his shoulder boards, gray crew cut, jaw like granite. I descended the stairs, came to attention. "General." He returned my salute, then did something unexpected. He smiled. "Hell of a way to start a mission, Colonel. You just became the most famous soldier in America." My jaw tightened. "Sir, I didn't intend—" He waved me off. "I know you were just checking in, but you know what? Good. The world needs to see what our women in uniform are capable of. And your brother needed to learn that respect isn't given based on bank accounts." He gestured toward a waiting Humvee. "We'll talk about your family drama later. Right now, we have a terrorist cell to shut down. You ready?" I nodded. "Always, sir." He clapped me on the shoulder. "That's my girl. Let's go save some lives." As we drove toward the operations center, I looked out at the Hawaiian landscape. Palm trees, blue sky, paradise. But somewhere in this paradise, people were plotting death and destruction. And I was here to stop them. This was who I really was. Not the daughter who carried bags. Not the sister who accepted expired coupons. I was Colonel Diana Hartford, commander of Tier 1 assets, protector of the innocent. And I had work to do. The next 48 hours blurred together. Intelligence briefings, satellite imagery, coordination with NSA cyber teams, planning the breach. We identified the target location. A server farm disguised as a water treatment facility in a residential neighborhood. Civilians everywhere. Couldn't just send in Delta Force guns blazing. This required precision, surgical strikes, and someone who could coordinate the cyber attack with the physical breach. Me. I stood in the operations center at 0300 hours studying maps. My team surrounded me, the best of the best, Delta operators who'd been in more combat than most soldiers see in a lifetime. My voice was calm, authoritative. We breach at 0500. Cyber team kills their external connections at 0459. That gives us a 60-second window before they realize they're blind. We go in fast, extract their equipment, secure the site. One of the operators asked, "Rules of engagement?" I looked at him. Non-lethal if possible. But priority is civilian safety. If they threaten lives, you're authorized to use lethal force. Clear? The team nodded in unison. Clear, ma'am. At 0430, we rolled out 4 vehicles, 16 operators, me in tactical gear for the first time in front of cameras that weren't military controlled. Somewhere, I knew people were tracking this. The woman from the airport video was now leading a counterterrorism operation. The internet would lose its mind. But I couldn't think about that. Lives depended on me. We approached the target building at exactly 0458. The cyber team reported, "Cutting external connections in 3, 2, 1. They're blind." My voice was steady. Breach, breach, breach. The operators moved like water, flowing through doors, securing rooms. Within 90 seconds, we had control of the building. 4 suspects, 3 men, 1 woman, faces pale with shock. I walked in as they were being zip-tied. Spoke calmly. "You just tried to kill 1 million people. You failed. Now you're going to tell us who you're working for." One of the men spat at my feet. "We don't talk to American dogs." I didn't react. Just knelt down to his level. "That's fine. We have your computers, your phones, your communications. We'll find them anyway, but here's what you need to know." I leaned in close. I just spent the last 3 days having the worst Thanksgiving of my life. I'm tired, I'm angry, and I really don't have patience for terrorist sympathizers right now. So you can either talk to me, or you can talk to the interrogators who have much less pleasant personalities. His eyes widened. Something in my tone told him I wasn't bluffing. He started talking. By 0700, we had everything. The network, the funding, the cell structure. Within 24 hours, simultaneous raids in 3 countries dismantled the entire operation. General Stone called me into his office. "Outstanding work, Colonel. You just prevented what could have been the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil since 9/11. I stood at attention. "Just doing my job, sir." He leaned back in his chair. "Your job. Right. Tell me, Colonel, how does it feel to be famous?" I grimaced. "Honestly, sir, terrible. I didn't join the military for recognition." Stone nodded. "I know, but like it or not, you're a symbol now. Women in uniform are calling you a hero. Men who underestimate women are having a reckoning. Your niece texted me, by the way." I blinked. "Excuse me?" He chuckled. "She found my email through official channels. Asked if I could help her prepare for West Point. Smart kid. I told her you'd be her mentor, but I'd make sure the academy knew to expect her application." My throat tightened. "Thank you, sir." His expression turned serious. "Diana, I need to tell you something. Your family has been trying to reach you through official channels. Your mother called my office 18 times. Your brother 12. They want to talk." I shook my head. "I'm not ready." Stone leaned forward. "I'm not saying you have to forgive them. I'm saying they're in Hawaii. Your parents are at the Four Seasons. Your brother is at some budget hotel. Apparently his credit cards got frozen. His wife left him and took the kids to her mother's." Despite everything, I felt a pang. "She left?" Stone nodded. "The public backlash was too much. She said she couldn't be married to someone the internet calls Airport Karen." I sat down, suddenly exhausted. I didn't want this. I just wanted them to see me. Stone's voice softened. "They see you now. The question is, what do you want to do about it?" I looked at my hands. These hands that had held weapons, signed orders, saved lives. Now they trembled slightly. Not from fear. From the weight of choice. I don't know. Stone stood, walked to the window. "You know what I learned in my 40 years of service? Family is complicated. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones who love us. They just don't know how to show it properly." He turned back. "I'm not saying forgive them. I'm saying maybe give them a chance to learn. People can change, but they need a teacher. And right now, you're the only one qualified for the job." I looked up. "What if they don't change?" Stone's voice was firm. "Then you walk away with a clear conscience. You gave them the opportunity. What they do with it is their choice." 2 days later, I stood in the open-air lobby of the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, the pink palace of the Pacific. The air smelled of plumeria and sea salt. Late afternoon sun bathed everything in golden light. I wore my Army service uniform, the dress blues. Dark jacket tailored perfectly, gold stripe running down the trousers sharp enough to cut glass. On my chest, my ribbons caught the light. Silver Star, Purple Heart, Legion of Merit, Bronze Star with Valor device, each one representing a moment when I chose duty over comfort, service over self. My phone had been buzzing for hours. Messages from journalists requesting interviews, book deal offers, speaking engagement invitations. The video had exploded beyond anything I'd imagined. 40 million views now. Think pieces in the New York Times and Washington Post about women in the military, family dynamics, the cost of silence. I'd ignored them all. Across the lobby, sitting on a plush velvet sofa, sat the Hartford family. They looked like refugees from a disaster zone. Mom wore a floral muumuu that seemed too bright for her somber expression. Dad stared at the floor, wringing his hands. And then there was Marcus. He didn't look like a master of the universe anymore. He wore a wrinkled linen shirt, untucked, hadn't shaved in 2 days, gray stubble patchy on his chin, eyes bloodshot, darting around the lobby like he expected photographers to jump out from behind palm trees. When he saw me approaching, he stood so fast he knocked over a coffee cup on the table. Brown liquid spread across marble, dripped onto carpet. His voice came out breathless. "Diana, thank you for coming. I didn't think you would." I kept my distance, hands clasped behind my back in parade rest. "I have a flight back to DC in 3 hours. I wanted to say goodbye to Mom and Dad properly." Marcus pulled out his phone with shaking hands. "Listen, Diana, we need to talk about the situation. The video has 40 million views now, 40 million. His voice cracked. "The board of directors voted me out yesterday. They're taking my company, the one I built from nothing. My stock options are worthless. The bank froze my accounts pending fraud investigation. They think I was embezzling because my spending patterns don't match my reported income." He laughed, a manic, high-pitched sound. "Vanessa left me, took Leo and Sophie to her mother's, filed for divorce, said she can't be married to someone the internet calls a Karen." I watched him unravel. It was painful, necessary, like watching a fever break. My voice stayed neutral. "What do you want me to do, Marcus?" He dropped to his knees right there in the hotel lobby. People turned to stare. He didn't care. "Make a video with me, just a short clip. We stand here, you wear the uniform, we smile. Say it was a misunderstanding, a skit, a viral marketing campaign for veterans awareness." His words tumbled out faster. "Yes, perfect. We say we did it to raise awareness for veterans issues. You save my reputation. I donate 100 grand to some military charity. Everyone wins. Please, Diana, you're my sister. You can't let them destroy me." Mom and Dad stood up now, hovering behind him. Mom's eyes were red-rimmed, pleading, "Diana, please. Your brother worked so hard for that company. Don't let a silly argument ruin his life." I looked at them. For 19 years, their voices had controlled me. Their approval was the drug I'd been addicted to. But standing there in my uniform, surrounded by the quiet strength of my own achievements, I realized the addiction was broken. My voice came out firm but not cruel. "No." The word hung in the humid air like a thunderclap. Marcus's face went pale. "What?" I met his eyes. "I said no, Marcus. I won't lie for you. And I certainly won't use my uniform, a uniform that men and women have died in, as a prop to save your stock portfolio." Marcus's voice rose, drawing looks from tourists. "But I'm your family. You're supposed to have my back." My voice stayed calm. "I did have your back. When we were kids, I defended you from bullies. When you started your first company, I sent you money from my deployment pay in Iraq, $50,000 I'd saved for a house. I had your back for 40 years. But you never had mine." Marcus slumped back onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands. "I was jealous." The words came out muffled, barely audible. I stepped closer. "Excuse me?" He looked up, tears streaming down his face. "I was jealous, okay? You were always the tough one, the one who could handle pain. I was just the smart kid who was afraid of everything." His voice broke. "I made fun of you because it made me feel like I was above you. If I could make you look small, then I felt big. It's pathetic. I know it's pathetic. But I didn't know how else to handle feeling inadequate." It was the truth. Finally, after decades of posturing, the truth. I walked over to him, didn't hug him, just stood there, looking down. "I know, Marcus. I've known for a long time. Hope flared in his eyes. So you'll help me? I shook my head. No. His face crumpled. But you just said you forgive me. My voice cut through his protest. Forgiveness and fixing are not the same thing. I forgive you, Marcus. I release the anger. I won't carry the hate anymore. But I won't fix this for you. You broke it. You have to fix it. Marcus's voice came out as a wail. But I can't! I knelt down to his level, looked him in the eye. Then you will fail, and you will learn. And maybe when you have nothing left but yourself, you'll become the man you were supposed to be before the money ruined you. I stood, turned to my parents. Dad was crying silently. He stood up, tried to salute me. It was clumsy, awkward, his hand trembling at the wrong angle. His voice whispered, "I'm sorry, Colonel, I'm so sorry." My throat tightened. Goodbye, Dad. Take care, Mom. I turned on my heel, executing a perfect about-face. The heels of my dress shoes clicked sharply on marble floor. Marcus called out one last time, voice fading like a ghost. "Diana, where are you going?" I paused at the entrance, spoke without looking back. To do my job. The one I've been doing for 19 years while you were busy counting money and forgetting what matters. I walked out of the lobby, past the valet stand, toward the beach. The sun was setting over the Pacific, painting the sky in bruised shades of violet and burning orange. To my right in the distance lay Pearl Harbor. The USS Arizona Memorial sat silent beneath the waves, a tomb for over 1,000 men who never got to say goodbye to their families. I walked down to the water's edge, let the ocean breeze ruffle the flag on my shoulder patch. I thought about loneliness. For years, I thought I was alone because I was the black sheep. I thought I needed to buy my way back into the flock with silence and submission. But watching the waves crash against the shore, immutable and strong, I realized I wasn't alone. I had General Stone. I had the soldiers who formed a wall around me at the airport. I had the men and women I served with who knew the real me, the scars, the grit, the loyalty. And most importantly, I had myself. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. "Aunt Diana, where are you? Dad said you were at the hotel, but you left." I typed back, "I'm at the beach, near the hotel. Do you know how to get here?" Sophie, "Yes, Mom's letting me walk over. Be there in 10 minutes. I found a bench facing the water, sat down, watched surfers catching the last waves of the day, families packing up beach gear, normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that 72 hours ago, they'd almost lost everything. Sophie appeared, jogging across the sand in shorts and a t-shirt. Her face lit up when she saw me. "There you are." She threw her arms around me. I hugged her back, feeling her small frame shake with emotion. When she pulled away, her eyes were wet. "I saw Dad. He's a mess." I nodded, "I know." Sophie sat beside me on the bench. "Are you really not going to help him?" I looked at my niece, this bright, perceptive girl standing at the edge of womanhood. "Sophie, let me ask you something. If you make a mistake, a really big one, would you want someone to fix it for you? Or would you want the chance to fix it yourself?" Sophie thought about it. "Fix it myself, because then I'd learn." I smiled. "Exactly. That's what I'm giving your dad. The chance to learn. The chance to become better. But he has to want it. I can't want it for him." Sophie nodded slowly. "That makes sense. It's just hard to watch." My voice softened. "I know, sweetheart. But you know what's harder? Watching someone you love never change because people keep rescuing them from consequences." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Sophie spoke. "Aunt Diana, I need to tell you something. I lied to my mom." I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" Sophie's voice came out guilty. "I told her I was just going for a walk, but actually I wanted to ask you something important." I turned to face her fully. "Okay, what is it?" Sophie took a deep breath. "I told you I want to go to West Point. I meant it, but I need to know something first." She looked at me with those clear, honest eyes. "Is it worth it? Serving, I mean, knowing that people won't understand, that your own family might not appreciate it. Is it still worth it?" The question hit me harder than expected. I thought about 19 years, the heat of Iraq, the cold of Afghanistan, the fear, the loss, the moments when I thought I might not make it home. My voice came out steady. Yes, it's worth it. Not because of recognition or gratitude. It's worth it because when you serve something bigger than yourself, you become something bigger than your circumstances. I gestured to the ocean. Those people on the beach? They don't know my name. They don't know what I did this week. But they're safe. their lights work, their hospitals function. That's worth more than all the thank yous in the world. Sophie wiped her eyes. I want that. I want to matter like that. I put my arm around her shoulders. Then here's what we're going to do. Starting next month, we train. Physical fitness 5 days a week, academic tutoring, leadership exercises. I'm going to push you harder than anyone ever has. And when you want to quit, and you will want to quit, I'm going to remind you why you started. Sophie's face broke into a smile. Really? You'll train me? My voice was firm. On one condition. You stay with your family. You don't run away from the dysfunction. You become the change you want to see in them. Sophie's smile faded slightly. That's the hard part. I nodded. The hardest, but necessary. Your dad needs to see what he could have been, what he still could be. You're going to show him. Sophie straightened her shoulders, and I saw it. The beginning of the soldier she'd become. Okay, I can do that. We sat together watching the sunset. The sky turned from gold to pink to deep purple. Stars began appearing overhead. My phone buzzed again. This time it was General Stone. Colonel, mission complete. Well done. The president wants to thank you personally. There's a commendation ceremony at the White House next month. You're being awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal. Mandatory attendance. Also, your family drama made CNN. You're officially famous. Deal with it. Sedone. I showed Sophie the message. Her eyes went wide. The White House? Aunt Diana, that's incredible. I pocketed the phone. It's just another uniform inspection, except this time the inspector is the commander-in-chief. Sophie laughed. You're so calm about everything. How do you do that? I thought about the question because I know what actually matters. Medals are nice, recognition is nice, but they're not why I serve. I serve because when chaos comes, someone has to stand in the gap. That's what soldiers do. Sophie leaned her head on my shoulder. I want to be like you when I grow up. My voice caught. You're already better than me at your age. You chose to see the truth when everyone else wanted comfortable lies. That's rare, Sophie. Don't lose that. We walked back toward the hotel together. The Pink Palace glowed against the darkening sky. Inside, my family was probably still processing the wreckage of their privileged bubble. At the entrance, Sophie stopped. Aunt Diana, can I ask one more thing? I nodded, always. Her voice came out small. Do you think Dad can change? Really change? I looked at her. This girl who loved her father despite his flaws. I don't know. Change is possible for anyone, but it requires two things: realizing you need to change and doing the hard work even when it hurts. Your dad has the first part now. Whether he does the second part is up to him. Sophie hugged me one more time. Thank you for everything, for showing me what real strength looks like. I held her tight. Thank you for seeing me. For 19 years I was invisible to them, but you saw me from the beginning. We pulled apart. Sophie wiped her eyes. You're leaving tomorrow? I nodded. Early morning flight, back to DC, back to work. Sophie's voice was determined. I'll call you every week for training advice and just to talk. I smiled. I'll answer every time. She walked back into the hotel. I watched her go. This young woman carrying the weight of her family's redemption on her shoulders. But she was strong enough. I could see it in the way she walked, head high, shoulders back. I turned toward the beach one last time. The moon was rising over the Pacific, full and bright, casting silver light across the water. My phone rang. Not a text, an actual call, from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. This is Colonel Hartford. A male voice came through, hesitant. Diana, it's Dad. I stayed silent. Let him fill the void. His voice cracked. I don't know what to say. I don't even know where to start. Your mother and I, we've been sitting here for hours trying to understand how we got it so wrong. Still, I said nothing. Dad continued. Marcus showed us some of your letters, the ones we never opened. We opened them tonight. All of them. I heard paper rustling in the background. Mom's voice faint, sobbing. Dad's voice broke completely. You wrote about being scared, about missing home, about the friends you lost. You asked about our health, about Marcus, about the house. You sent money and asked for nothing. A long pause. And we never even looked. We just cashed the checks and threw away the letters like they were junk mail. My jaw clenched, anger and grief warring in my chest. Dad's voice came through tears. I don't expect you to forgive us. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I need you to know we see you now. We see what you've done, what you've sacrificed, and we are so, so sorry. I finally spoke, voice steady despite the emotion. Dad, I appreciate you calling. I really do, but sorry isn't enough. He made a choked sound. I know it's not. What do we do? How do we fix this? My voice was firm. You don't fix it. You live with it. You sit with the discomfort of knowing you failed someone who loved you. You let that pain teach you to do better with the people still in your life. Dad's voice was desperate. So that's it? You're just done with us? I looked out at the ocean, watched the waves rolling in, relentless and patient. I'm not done with you, but our relationship is different now. It's not the one where I beg for your approval and you withhold it. It's the one where I know my worth, and you're learning to recognize it. I took a breath. If you want to be part of my life going forward, you have to do the work. Read about what soldiers go through, learn about PTSD, about sacrifice, about service. Go to therapy, individual and marriage. Figure out why recognition only came after public humiliation. Dad's voice was quiet. We'll do it, whatever it takes. I felt something shift in my chest. Not quite hope, more like possibility. Then maybe eventually we can rebuild. But it will be a new relationship, built on honesty instead of performance. Dad's voice held a note of relief. Thank you, Diana. Thank you for not completely closing the door. I softened slightly. You're my parents. I love you. But love without respect is just obligation. And I'm done with obligation. Mom's voice came through the phone, shaky. Diana, honey, can I say something? I braced myself. Go ahead, Mom. Mom's voice cracked. I read the letter you wrote from Germany, the one from the hospital. You were so scared. You thought you might lose your arm. And I told you it was just a bike accident. She sobbed. My baby girl was in a military hospital half a world away, and I didn't even care enough to ask questions. What kind of mother does that? Despite everything, my throat tightened. The kind who didn't know how to handle having a daughter who didn't fit the mold. Mom's voice came out fierce. That's not an excuse. You were extraordinary, and I wanted you to be ordinary. I wanted you to be safe and boring and nearby, and I punished you for being brave. The honesty was unexpected, raw. Mom, her voice rushed on. I know I can't undo it, but I swear to you, Diana Louise Hartford, I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. Tears pricked my eyes. I blinked them away. That's all I ever wanted, Mom. Not perfection, just effort. We stayed on the line in silence. The sound of their breathing, my breathing, the ocean waves, three broken people trying to find a way forward. Finally, Dad spoke. We love you, Diana. We always have. We just didn't know how to show it properly. My voice came out softer than I'd intended. I love you too. But we have a long road ahead. Dad's voice held determination. We'll walk it, however long it takes. We said goodbye. I ended the call and stood there on the beach, phone in hand. The weight I'd carried for 19 years hadn't disappeared. But it felt different, lighter, like I'd shared the burden instead of carrying it alone. I walked to the water's edge, let the waves lap at my shoes. The leather would be ruined, but I didn't care. My secure phone buzzed. A message from one of my operators. Colonel, just heard about your White House ceremony. Whole team wants to be there. Permission to attend in dress uniform? I smiled, typed back. Permission granted. Wouldn't want it any other way. Another message, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Colonel Hartford, this is Captain Jessica Chen from West Point Admissions. General Stone asked me to reach out. We'd be honored to help prepare Sophie Hartford for her application. When she's ready, we're ready. I forwarded the message to Sophie with a note. Your path is opening. Don't waste it. Her response came immediately. I won't. I promise. Thank you for believing in me. I looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, satellites were transmitting data. Drones were watching hostile territories. Systems I'd helped protect were keeping people safe. This was my legacy. Not the viral video, not the family drama, but the quiet, consistent work of standing watch while others slept. My phone rang one last time. Marcus. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press accept. Yes? His voice was raw, stripped of all pretense. I don't deserve you picking up, I know that, but I need to tell you something. I waited. Marcus continued. I just spent the last hour reading articles about you, about your service, about the missions. There's a Wikipedia page now, did you know that? His voice was thick with emotion. You saved 47 lives, 47 actual human beings who are alive because of you, and I gave you expired coupons. He laughed bitterly. The irony is, I spent my whole life trying to be important, building a company, making money, buying things, and you were actually important. You were saving lives, and I treated you like you were nothing." My voice stayed neutral. "Why are you telling me this, Marcus?" He took a shaky breath. "Because Sophie asked me something tonight. She asked if I was proud of you." A pause, and I realized I couldn't answer. I was so busy being jealous, I forgot to be proud. "So I'm telling you now, I'm proud of you, Diana. I'm proud to be your brother, even though I don't deserve to be." Something in my chest cracked open. Not quite forgiveness, but recognition of his pain. "Thank you, Marcus. That means something." His voice was desperate. "Is there any way, any chance you might help me? Not with the company, that's gone, but with becoming better. I want to be the kind of man Sophie can be proud of." I thought about it, about the man he was versus the man he could be. "There might be, but it starts with you doing something you've never done." Marcus's voice was eager. "What? Anything?" My voice was firm. "Get a job, a real job, not a CEO position, something entry level, something where you have to clock in and take orders from someone half your age. Work for minimum wage for 6 months. Learn what it's like for the people you used to look down on." Silence on the other end. Then, "You're serious?" I nodded even though he couldn't see. "Dead serious. You want to rebuild your character? Start at the bottom. Learn humility from the ground up. When you've done that, we'll talk about the next step." Marcus's voice came out small. "Okay, I'll do it." I raised an eyebrow. "Just like that?" His voice was tired but determined. "Just like that. Because I looked in the mirror tonight, and I didn't recognize the man staring back. I need to become someone my daughter can respect." I felt something soften in my chest. "Then we'll talk in 6 months. Show me you mean it." Marcus's voice held a note of hope. "Thank you, Diana, for not completely giving up on me." I hung up without responding, stood there in the moonlight, listening to the ocean. This was what grace looked like. Not erasing consequences, not pretending wounds didn't exist, but leaving the door open for redemption while maintaining boundaries. I thought about Sophie, about the woman she'd become, about the lessons she'd carry forward. You don't need to make yourself small to lift others up. You don't need permission to know your worth. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. My final night in Hawaii, I walked to the USS Arizona Memorial. The visitor center was closed, but I had military credentials. The guard let me through. I stood on the memorial platform, looking down at the ship beneath the water. Oil still leaked from the wreckage, rising to the surface in rainbow patterns. "Tears of the ship," they called it. I thought about the men entombed below. Boys, really, 18, 19, 20 years old. They died before understanding the full weight of their sacrifice. But their sacrifice had mattered. It had meant something. Just like every meal I'd skipped to send money home. Every holiday I'd spent in a combat zone. Every moment I'd chosen duty over comfort. A voice spoke behind me. "Colonel Hartford?" I turned. An elderly man in a Navy veteran's cap stood there, leaning on a cane. He had to be in his 90s. His voice was thin but clear. "I saw you on the news. Wanted to shake your hand." I took his weathered hand in mine. "The honor is mine, sir. Were you at Pearl?" He nodded. "December 7th, 1941. I was on the USS Tennessee, watched the Arizona go down, lost a lot of friends that day." His eyes were distant, seeing ghosts. "You know what I thought about most after? Whether I'd done enough. Whether my service mattered." I waited, letting him speak. He looked at me. "It took me 50 years to understand. Service isn't about being seen. It's about standing in the gap when the gap needs filling. You did that this week. You've been doing it for years." His grip tightened on my hand. "Don't let the noise fool you. The viral videos, the fame, the drama. That's not what matters. What matters is the lives you saved, the mission you completed, the example you set." My voice caught. "Thank you, sir. I needed to hear that." He smiled, released my hand. "You're going to be okay, Colonel. You know why?" I shook my head. His voice was certain. "Because you know who you are. And knowing yourself is the first step to peace." He walked away slowly, disappearing into the darkness. I never got his name. I stood there for another hour, watching the oil rise, watching the stars reflect on the water, thinking about sacrifice and service and the cost of standing when others sit. When I finally left, the guard at the gate saluted me. I returned it, crisp and clean. That's not revenge, that's redemption. And sometimes, redemption is the only victory that matters. The next morning, I boarded my flight back to DC. As we lifted off, banking over Pearl Harbor, I pulled out my phone one last time. A message to Sophie. Remember, you are not what happens to you. You are what you do when no one is watching. That's character. Her response came immediately. I choose to become someone like you. See you next month for training. I love you, Aunt Diana. I smiled, leaned back, closed my eyes. In a month, I'd stand in the White House. But the real reward wasn't the ceremony. It was knowing that somewhere, a 16-year-old girl had learned what took me 19 years to understand. Your value doesn't come from the table they set for you. It comes from knowing you can build your own table. And when you do, make sure there's room for those who were also forgotten.